Hey guys, it is Tim with Tabletop Terrors, and this is Daily Damage, a weekday pseudo-regular live stream where we just talk about what's inspiring us. I always start Daily Damage with what I call the rundown, and the rundown is some cool stuff that you should check out this week. Something really cool that I'm excited to share. The second episode of the podcast Encounter Machine is up. Encounter Machine is a collaborative effort between the two ugly mugs at Tabletop Terrors, myself and my brother James, and one handsome mug of Hankrin Fernale at Drunkens and Dragons. And what we do is we get together and we give you one clean, easy-to-use encounter at your tabletop. Episode 2 is live right now. You can find it on the Tabletop Terrors Facebook page, or you can check it out on Podbean. Another thing that's awesome, WASD20, Nate Vanderzee himself, actually just put up a dungeon creation video, and Nate is bringing his A game. Like, Nate's videos lately have just been amazing. And so check out, if you don't know who WASD20 is, if you haven't seen this, it's a must-see video, and I think we're going to share it to the Tabletop Terrors page later on. So, that's the rundown. Let's get right in. I don't have as much time as I normally do because I have a meeting at 4 o'clock Eastern, so I have to really watch the clock. But this seems like the clickbaitiest title I've ever used, but I promise you that this, to me, has given me joy. Like, this might be basic knowledge for you, but this is very good, deep information for me. So the first thing I want to do before I dig into that and pontificate more is I want to check the chat. Let's look and see who is here today. Josh Glisson is here. Chris Wilhelm is here. And Matt Brown is here. Aaron Knight says, hey, girl. What's going on, Aaron? So I mentioned this in another stream, but I really want to reiterate this. I'm a very new dungeon master when it comes to having an actual style. Before, I just was playing with people who knew so little about the game that we would just half stumble around and never finish anything. We hung out and it was fun. But genuinely, I'm very new as a dungeon master. Being a D&D player, I feel like I've done that for a while. But I'm very new as a dungeon master. So the Dragon Grin campaign that I'm running right now on the Tabletop Terrors channel is the first campaign that I've ever run in my whole life. Like, I've never run a campaign. I've had a string of, like, goofy, buck-toothed, non-finished, non-tied together, attention deficit disorder encounter days where my friends and I got together and we made a lot of good memories, but I couldn't tell you a single plot line or story or anything. So, all that to say, this is my first true campaign, and I got to session 3, and I really was at a loss. I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. This is the weirdest part. I have no problem. I have no shortage of coming up with 20s of ideas for other people, for their campaigns, for what they're doing. But for me, I was like, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. And the last session was good, but I wanted to change some things. Anyway, long story short, I thought, what am I missing? What do I need to do to fix this campaign? What do I need to do? Luckily, I know a guy named Matt Click. And he is a guy who is very skilled at running campaigns. He runs the Provokers campaign on the channel of Fistful of Dice. Matt Click is a prolific dungeon master, and I think he's fantastic. So anyway, we were messaging back and forth about something else. Like, hey man, can I pick your brain? I really just need help. Like, what do you do? And that's when I started having the realization. I was like, I'm a really new dungeon master, and I don't know. I can write a novel. I know how to outline something. I understand how to foreshadow and show pacing, and that's not a problem. But when you have moving parts and you have players interacting, I thought, I don't know how much I should push on them. That's my ideas, and I don't know how much I should let them put back on me. And so we kind of had no session 0, but we had a social contract going in. So anyway, I'm going to check the chat, and then I'm going to tell you the advice that he gave me. And I wrote it down. I made a copy and emailed it to myself because it's the best campaign advice I've ever heard, and it might be very simple, but I thought, you just unlocked the universe for me. It's simple, but hold on. Let's see here. Alex Brady is here. Joshua Law is here. Michael Barker himself and Dylan Allen. Working with Michael Barker currently, right now, on a top secret project that I'm very excited about. And I think we will be seeing probably in January, maybe in February. I don't know when it is, but very cool project that we have cooking in the background, and I'm so excited because it's awesome. Joshua Wallace says, "Yo, dog, yo, dude, you know what it smells like in here? It smells like Up Dog. What's up, dog? I don't know what's up with you." Josh goes and says, "Boo outlines." Okay, so you are a discovery writer. So am I, but I have learned to fuse the two. So I outline things that I think big pillars, and then I write my way around them. I just make a rough skeleton and then fill it out. It changes a lot, but I'm an outliner. And I'm also a discovery writer more than anything, but I need outlines to discovery write, so I'm 50-50. Alex Brady says, "Top secret project, give us a clue." I don't want to steal Barker's thunder. But I will say that it is not a Be a Better Game Master supplement or product. That's what I'll say. And if Barker wants to reveal more than that, I will let Barker reveal more than that. Alan Holloway is here. Stephen Back is here. Joshua Law says, "Do you stand while DMing at home game?" Yes, I stand at home. I don't stand online. I missed a comment up here. I know it. I saw it go by. BJ Hall says, "What up, Tim? Good to see you survive that grenade from the Lore Keepers. LOL, such a great game. Please, advice away." Oh, man. Sorry about the spoiler there. BJ, you set me up the bomb, buddy. I just read it out loud. Alan Holloway said, "It's daily damage, and all is right in the world." Tim, it's been too long since I've seen your beautiful face live. Yeah, man, it's been a very busy week at work. And I'm also really trying to make sure that December doesn't sneak by me and that I actually have some time to relax and recharge and have the holidays. Anyway, I'm going to shut up with all that stuff because I need to tell you guys the tip that Matt Click gave me that blew my mind. And I'm going to read it because I wrote it down. I transcribed his voice messages. He probably said it a little more eloquently, but I was typing pretty quickly. So here's the idea. This is what I call the Click campaign crafting method. How to set up a campaign. When I start planning a campaign, this is Matt Click, remember. When I start planning a campaign, I'm setting up a board game that I don't know how to play yet. Just let that soak right in. Because already I was like, okay. Putting pieces on a board, setting elements on the board without knowing their purpose and function. Just put pieces on the board. Now that's only the first bullet point. But already I was like, so you don't have it all figured out? Not even close? Meaning, I don't put a piece on the board unless I have a vague idea of why they're there. No. Just put pieces on the board. And I was already like, wait, are you telling me that I can just come up with cool stuff and put them on the board? Yes. Now, there's a limit. You need to balance it. But that's the general idea. Now, I'm going to continue. Once the pieces are on the board, these elements, these pieces, I use them, and it's my job to allow the players to act as a catalyst to create ties between these different pieces. And I thought, I started having the Kaiser Soze moment at the end of The Usual Suspects, which that's not a spoiler because you don't know what I mean, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean, where I'm like, and I start, and the Provokers is flashing through my head, and the Provoker Season 2 is flashing through my head, and I'm like, that's what he does! He puts the pieces on the board, knowing, okay, this is kind of cool, and I'm going to go into this. I'm going to give my thoughts on this afterward, but then he uses the players as catalysts to tie those pieces together. Okay? Mild, light, teeny, itty, bitty, tiny spoilers for Provoker Season 2. There are multiple people looking for something. There's an item that Nate Vanderzee's character has. Matt also made it so that another faction in the world was looking for that same thing, and another NPC was looking for that same thing. He took these threads and tied it around the pieces and said, well, how can I pin these so that they link? And I thought, oh my God, this is the mainline campaign Superdrug. This is what I needed to hear. He said that I tied the pieces together. There are things that I don't necessarily know, but I've left purposefully open and vague enough so that if I introduce those things later on, it won't seem contrived or hackneyed. I was like, and then another side, it was like delayed blast. Let's see what's going on. Matt Brown says, I totally stand up when DMing at home. Yeah, I do too, because I have to keep the attention of my family who's as loud as me or louder, which, believe me, when you get 7 of us in one place. Poor Cassie, James's fiance, her family is not nearly as loud as ours. So for her, it has taken some getting used to. We're all around like, the way we talk is like this, like, hey, what's going on? Pass me the potatoes. Like, it's ridiculous. Josh Glisson says, working on figuring out how to use Alexa with lighting and other Wi-Fi controlled devices to enhance D&D game at home. Even thought of a Wemo switch and fog machine for fog on demand. That's super cool. If you figure that out, you let me know. That's super rad, actually. And then Joshua Law says, that's some Yoda advice. Place your elements. BJ Hall says, did not mean to spoil. Wasn't my intention. No, man, I know. I meant it was nice to see you in one piece in your car. No, totally. I get that, man. You didn't spoil it. I spoiled it by reading it out loud without thinking of it. And then I spoiled it further by pointing it out and making a big deal out of it. So I'm going to give you the final piece. This is specific advice that Matt gave me for my campaign because I asked him that, as a friend and as we're collaborators. We're part of Absolute Tabletop. We write books together on the regular. So I was like, hey, man, what would you do if this was your campaign? And he says, in the Dragon Green campaign, I feel like you need more pieces. I feel like you need more NPCs. He says, right now, the only pieces on the board are the big bad guys and us. You need more pieces to move around to affect the things in the world. This also lets us as players move pieces. Now, there's a limit to how many you can have on the board, but my thoughts would be that you currently don't have enough. Then the final piece of the puzzle, as he says, I want to reiterate, is that you do not have to know what these pieces do when you place them. And I thought, that's exactly what I needed. Because right now, in the Dragon Grin campaign I'm running, and this is entirely spoiler-free, the characters are in a vacuum. It has worked thus far. It was strained last session. Last session, I should have put an NPC in there. There's a specific location that I got to. It should not have been abandoned. There should have been an NPC in there. That would have immediately caused me to say, okay, let's place this piece. Let's take Matt's advice. Who is this NPC? What do they want? Who are they working for? Why? And so on. And I just started thinking about it, and I was like, in the real world, you can look out, like, I'm looking, currently where I film, I don't know if the sun just blinded you, but essentially it's a busy road. All of the people that are driving by are the main character of their own story. They have desires, goals, and thoughts. They work for somebody. Somebody's above them. Somebody's in charge of them at some point in their life, so on and so on. Picking a few of those and dropping them on the map. A corrupt sheriff, a monstrous humanoid adventuring party. Like, just start putting pieces on the map and then saying, okay, how does this tie to you? How does this tie to Diggs? How does this tie to Rudy? How does this tie? So those are the people in my campaign. And it just started blowing my mind, and I thought, that is the most simple, effective campaign advice I've ever heard. And it's the perfect balance between letting the players have a sort of sandboxy environment and letting them interact with the world. But you get to choose. By taking the pieces, I get to choose the tone and the feel. What piece do I put on there? It's going to have a different tone or feel in the campaign if I put a vampire spawn, like in Sir Celine. That's a little more dark, a little more horror. But if I want it to be a competing prince who has claims to the throne, that's a totally different piece. it generates a different tone and a different feel. And so by doing that, I control the high-level, overarching ideas of like, okay, this campaign is going to be about character discovery. I want it to be about this, this, and this. I start looking, all right, what pieces do I want to place? What NPCs really are mostly NPCs, factions, like how do you want to do that? So anyway, let's look at the chat. Yet again, Matt Brown says, yeah, my girlfriend is Italian, and volume is always 100, dude. I understand. Good practice for commanding the game table. Alan said, episode 2 of Encounter Machine was great. It's the stuff nightmares are made of. Thanks, man. I was really happy with it. I think we have a very good blend. Hankrin Furnale of Drunkards and Dragons is the encounter builder. That's his thing. He makes room designs. That's his whole thing. And well, he's also a brilliant writer and a sharp guy with, but what I'm saying is that one of the things I know him for and that he's passionate about is room design. So we thought, we'll take his room design with the crazy flavor stuff that James and I like to add, and you just smash them together and just have these quick one-off encounters. And it's been going really well. It's fun. It's easy. Like what you hear, we just sit down, hit record, and go for it. They come really fast. It's fantastic. Matt Brown says, yeah, wow, solid drop of knowledge from both of you and Matt. I will definitely be plugging this into my Star Wars campaign at home tomorrow. Dude, beautiful. Joshua Law says, what about letting each player drop in a piece in session 0? That's actually a brilliant idea. I hadn't even thought of that exact thing, but I'll even do you one better or sideways. I say, okay, player, I want to have some sort, so I give direction to the piece. Now, it is a session 0, so yes, I would also say, hey, is there anything you particularly want to throw in? Here's what I've learned, though. And this is no slight to my players. They're amazing players. Part of the thing that they're doing is discovering their character. We just started this campaign without a session 0. So when I'm like, hey, what are your goals? They have not discovered yet in a lot of ways. So it's difficult for them to answer that. So like, I'm not sure what my goals are. But if I say, well, hey, here's my piece. Why don't you paint it? To kind of use that analogy. It's like, hey, I want to kind of go with this shape. So, like in the instance of Matt's character, Ephraim, there are some things that he knows about what he wants to discover. He's like, hey, I want to discover this or that. His was fairly easy because he had a very clear idea. But someone like James, who told me, he's like, hey, I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. It can be difficult to try to draw on them for a piece. You know what, though? I'm going to change the whole thing I just said. Just scratch that, because you know what? It's actually cooler if I go, hey, man, what's an element you want to see in this game? And then he just throws some random thing, like what we've seen in the Sir Celine games, where it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll work that in there. So yes, good advice, and I disagree with myself from before and agree with me now. Dylan Williams says, hello, how are you all today? I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you today? That's the question. So yes, Joshua Law, that's a brilliant idea, and I think that it's one that I will incorporate. Chris Wilhelm says, when I GM, I focus on people, NPCs and PCs alike. Each has its own desires and goals. The adventure and stories evolve from their interactions. See, that's fantastic. And here's the thing, Chris. I feel like I can do that at a one-shot level. Like this. I could just go, yeah, one shot. Okay, boom, here's the one shot. I think I can do that fairly well. But what I was getting stumped on was tying it together with an overarching feel. And so I need to take a page out of your book. I need to take a page out of Matt's book and say, okay, these people aren't just here in this moment. What are the repercussions of this? And in writing, a phrase that they use is the scene sequel. So here's another tip. If you're looking for how to write your next adventure, what's the sequel to a choice that the character made? What is the next phase? What is the next feeling they would have? Did they just kill someone? Maybe the next feeling is remorse. What's the sequel to that scene? So yeah, Chris, that's actually a really solid way to do it. Dylan says, doing fine. Good. Chris Williams says, speaking of session 0, we need to find some time for that video. Yeah, man, I'm on an antibiotic. I finally broke down. I was still phlegmy and just feeling like garbage every morning. And then by the evening, I would feel better. So I was kind of tricking myself into thinking I was well. But in the morning, I'd be like just waking up feeling like garbage. I was losing my voice. It was the worst. But I got on some antibiotics. I've been on them for like 2.5 days. And already I've seen a huge difference. So let's get it on the calendar. I would love to do that. In fact, I was even considering doing a mini session 0. Our campaign's already started. We're 3 games in. But I was going to call it like a session 0.5, where it's like, hey guys, State of the Union. It's been 3 sessions. We went into this campaign looking to discover it and kind of figure it out as we went. I feel like here's the tone, here's the vibe. What do you think? So maybe that would help me there. Rob Coletta himself is here from Performance Check. Dylan Williams says, is it okay if I go live to get more info and all about a game? Yeah, man, go for it. You mean like, yeah, dude. Listen, if anybody in the community ever wants to go live while I'm live, you go live. Like, I'm just a dude. Go to town, man. You go live and hook it up old school, man. No worries there. But I have to end the stream. It's unfortunate, but like I said, I have a meeting at 4 o'clock sharp, which I'm sure will get canceled or bumped because I'm rushing back for it. That's just, hey, come on. Because, hey, corporate America. But the main point I want to say is that I then took this information that Matt gave me, and I immediately went to work. So now, when I start building a campaign, what I'm going to say is, all right, what kind of campaign do I want to do? Because I think the next campaign that I want to run is a Monster Hunter campaign. I think that'd be really cool. Monster Hunters in Dragon Grin, like lowly, sort of ragtag, and that whole story. Not Copper Jackals, that kind of thing. But so then I go, okay, cool. What elements do I need to have a Monster Hunter feel? And so I'm excited to start another campaign. Yes, but I'm more excited to start using these techniques in this campaign right now. Because I think I have a good feel for character. I think I have a good feel for storytelling. But I think it needs to be focused. And so I need to choose what nozzle this inspiration hose is going to shoot out with. And so I think that this information, and I'll recap it really quickly before I bounce here. When you start planning a campaign, you have to decide kind of the tone and the feel, and then start placing pieces on the board. Mostly people, it could be places, it could be events, but just start placing those pieces. And you don't have to know how they interact with each other. Then, it's your job to use the players as catalysts to tie those pieces together and to each other. Okay? And then they'll start to, I think, and he mentioned this in another message that I didn't transcribe. He said, once you get about 3 sessions in using this method, the campaign goes on autopilot. You can literally just kind of say, okay, time to move this piece. And then you do some prep, but it's like it becomes more intuitive because you know what pieces are on the board. And it's more like, I don't know if you guys have experience in sound, but it's like mixing. Like you're mixing certain things louder or softer, but unless you have all the tracks there to use, you can't do that. And that's what I was doing. I'm trying to be like, I want to create a Dragon Grin symphony. And it's like, awesome. And I'm like, I have 4 tracks. So I guess, yeah, it's fantastic advice, but that's it. And the final thing is just, you don't have to know what the pieces do when you place them. You just have to know that they're a piece on the board and let them grow organically and tie them to stuff. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's look at some more comments, and then we're going to bounce here. Let's see here. Rob Coletta says, Tim, good to see you live. Can't stop by as I'm just about to run my first one-on-one session. We'll watch later. Awesome. Good luck with that session. Josh Glisson, Gothnog goes dead. What? Dylan Williams says, is it okay if I go? Oh, I read that one. Dylan says, okay, thank you, but I meant when I have free time. Sure. Yeah, man. Yeah, anyone can feel free to go live in the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group whenever they want to do it. That's no problem at all. Chris Williams says, I do those when the game takes a shift or a story arc completes itself. It helps to refocus, like a session 0.5. What do you call those, Chris? Is there a cool name that I can hijack and start using? Joshua Law says, you're looking svelte, bro. Thanks, man. I'm plugging along with my diet. I have stuck with it consistently, and I'm lighter than I've been in a decade. So I'm very happy. Alan Holloway says, I'm down for that Monster Hunter campaign, hat tossed into the ring. So here's the thing. For my campaigns, that's my gaming group. So you're going to see when I run a campaign, it's most likely going to be Barker, Nate, Matt, James, and Cassie. So, but I will do some one-shots on the periphery. That's kind of my problem solving. Not that I don't want to run campaigns with people in the community, but it's that's my gaming group. Those are my best friends. And so, that's just my gaming group. But what I'm going to start doing more of, and I will do this after the new year, the campaigns that we're running, these one-shots that we're running, I'm going to tie them into this current campaign, similarly how Matt has done Umber Cloaks. Joshua Law says, here's a piece for a Monster Hunter game, a poaching organization. Perfect. That's exactly a perfect example of a piece. Boom, drop that on the board. I don't know who they are, what they are. I might come up with a name, but that's it. And then in the session 0, the players are talking. I'm like, oh, great. Okay, how about if this poaching organization is actually infringing on that thing you want? Boom, tied to it that fast. Chris Williams says, I would be down for monster hunting. See, now what I need to do is I need to actually have a series where there's the main campaign that's sort of like the people on this particular mission, and then I do one-shots. Because I can't throw out a bunch of interest like that and then say, no. Oh, Matt Click himself joined. Dude, Matt, thank you for this advice. It's been amazing. And even though I'm wrapping up the stream, I think you have helped a lot of people. Nathan Crouch says some excellent advice. That is actually really helpful for me. I'm kind of in the same spot as you, Tim. I started my first campaign a few months ago. Dude, do this exact thing. Dylan says, I got a last question. Josh Glisson says, instead of goes live. Chris Williams says, state of the game is probably the best name for it. Oh, I like it. Dylan says, I was wondering if I can get good advice on a group to find a Pokemon D&D. Actually, there's quite a few Pokemon D&D campaigns. I would post some kind of a question in the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group, and there's hundreds, thousands, almost literally 2,000, it's more like 1,000 and change, people who are willing to help. So yeah, post that in there. I am not very big on Pokemon. I don't dislike them, I'm just not big into it. I never got into it. So anyway, I love you all. That is the best campaign advice I've ever gotten. It's 4 o'clock. I'm going to be a little late to my meeting. But anyway, until next time, may your dice roll high. Special thanks to Matt Click, and check out the Dragon Grin campaign if you want to see episodes 1, 2, and 3, so you can see how the campaign shifts and changes. Until next time, may your dice roll high.